Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's stream. Today's a different day, obviously, doing it on a Sunday rather than a Friday evening. But due to some circumstances, we did move the stream, so hope this isn't too inconvenient for everybody. And if it works out, then I might start doing maybe Sundays as well. I'm not sure. It's a little different doing it earlier in the day rather than so late. But yeah, without further ado, we'll probably just jump in here. I don't know if my audio, I might have to sometimes I have to do this. I'll have to like restart the camera. So what I can do real quick, deactivate and activate it again inside of OBS sometimes fixes it. I can't do any checks beforehand to really see if this works. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if we're good. If not, then I guess we'll find out later if somebody else joins like, hey, I can't hear you, or whatever it is. So the image, we're starting a brand new image this week actually, and this is the image right here. As per usual, I create these images in Midjourney first, and then I go ahead and put them up, and we're going to make them inside of Blender from scratch. I think the only thing I'll probably cut little corners on is the girl. I might use a plugin that I have for generating humans to do that. But for right now, we're going to work on the entire environment for this photo first, rather than trying to create everything right now. We'll do all layout first, so just the entire environment before we do any shading or lighting or anything like that. But yeah, this is the image that we'll be creating today. It's a pretty simple image actually, just lots of trees, some snow, the ice on the ground. We're in the kind of the Christmas spirit right now, so I wanted to have that like kind of Christmassy feel for a render again. Last week we did a nice little deer inside the forest, and then this week figured the only thing I didn't get with this AI image was there's no ice skates on her. I wanted them to have ice skates, but there was no ice skates on this, so I will be putting ice skates because I like the image, the idea of like this girl ice skating on like a pond, in a frozen pond. Very picturesque. So let's go ahead and I'll swap over to our Blender, and we're going to go ahead and get started in here. I'm going to, let's see, a lot of the things I wasn't able to do before the render or before the whole stream started, so I'm going to actually just load this in here right now. I have that image. I can't actually, where is that saved? It's probably just like my downloads folder. Just inside of here. No, it is not. I think I can, not quite sure actually where it is. So let's see. Copy as path. I think I just paste that in here, right? Oh, it is under downloads. That's why it's not sorted by date modified. There we go. Okay. And then just load that image in there. I'm just going to set the opacity to 100%, and then we'll select the color space as 1886 in order for us to have that proper. It's funny though, because since I am doing this on a different day, I don't have like all of my checks and procedures that I normally do before I get the stream started. So there are a few things that I am kind of trying to figure out here, so bear with me. But let's go ahead and set the camera position. I like doing this by just adding in a plane. From this image, I mean, we're probably dealing with a smaller lens, so I'll swap that to like a 35mm lens, probably correct, and then just drop that in. Just kind of try to line everything up. The other thing I like to do is using the 3D cursor, is just rotating on the 3D cursor path. We can do that by setting the cursor to selected, so it's in the absolute center of that cursor. And then we can rotate our camera around that by selecting 3D cursor up here. This just makes everything a little bit easier for trying to get your paths and orientation to be correct. And I say this every week, you know, that I'm doing this. It's like I probably could use F-Spy, but just haven't. So just scale that down. We're just moving this to the camera here. I'm using my triangle method of stretching out to the distance. I will actually say, hello. Kind of rotate this on the x-axis and just kind of fix this. The horizon shouldn't, yeah, exactly. So there we go. The camera's oriented a little bit better. And you can kind of see that because the horizon was higher than it needed to be there. And now with this, I could just literally just scale it out. And I'm not going to scale it on the 3D cursor. I'm going to scale it on its individual origins. So we'll just scale that out. Perfect. And there we go. We have like kind of like the perfect perspective of what the camera's going to be seeing. I'll delete our one light that we have in there because we don't really need that. I'm going to save this. Oh, that's right. I didn't. This is like one of those things. I didn't create my save file before I started today. So, a couple little hiccups here, but that's fine. I'm going to create a scripts folder, and then we'll just go ahead and throw it in there. Or it's 1210. I might want to create like a version number. I always just use the standardized naming convention that I use is the year and then month and then day, and that kind of is just how I always name all of my files, because then you kind of know what everything is and you just go from there. All right, let's finish. Let's grab this, and we're just going to drag this a little closer to the camera. And again, just scale that just past the camera. We don't need any extra distance. This is actually really helpful doing this method here for specifically shots where you have lots of grass, because grass particle systems can crash if it's trying to do too big of a surface. So if you're only doing the area that you're going to be rendering, then you don't have that problem. Kind of like manually creating like a bit of a ray trace setup where that works there. Okay, I'm going to render this on the 3D cursor as well. Just bring that down a little bit, fix the horizon line. Okay. Now, creating kind of like these rocks on the edge here. This will be like the first rock that is from that camera's perspective. We can probably just do this with just like UV spheres or something like that. And that might work. I'm going to go ahead and do that by just grabbing that. Whoops. Now we're just gonna kind of duplicate our work. And we can create more of our rock a rock effect here in a second. It's just right now, just scale that down. I'm just kind of making this all in the same object, so that way when I do take this, I can actually go into sculpt mode, and then we'll go to modifiers and then multi-resolution. There it is. And I can subdivide this a few times. What's nice about this now is that if I do create kind of cornered edges or anything like that, I can flatten up surfaces. So like if I really want this to be like a flattened section of the rock, I can kind of flatten this out. And doing this inside of a sculpt mode just makes it a little bit easier to really create the shapes that you want. Rocks have like kind of this more, but since it's like snow on top of rocks, we don't need terribly too much detail. It's just that's why starting out with kind of like rounded objects makes sense. There we go. Just kind of creating these edges that the rocks would have, very natural kind of edges, very like, organic in nature. Although, is rock really organic, or, you know, what exactly is it? But yeah, like just now duplicating this and just creating ourselves our edge of our path, we can kind of create the sideline here of what the side of the pond should look like. Just using spheres and then kind of going in and shaping those inside of our sculpt mode. Kind of duplicate that as well. Just kind of make these smaller ones here. I'm gonna grab that and just positioning these more so like where the other rocks are inside of that reference image, and just kind of lining everything up. Yeah, it's just basically a bunch of spheres. And this will make it easier on us. Just go top view, here we go. It is interesting. I wanted to try, so I wasn't able to stream on Friday, but then kind of, I was like, well, do I just push this week or what? I figured, you know, I'm not doing much this weekend. I have a red carpet on this coming Friday, or no, Wednesday. I can't remember what day it is. I'll have to double check. So I might be going shopping later to pick up some clothes for that, but that was all I really had for today. And yeah, so we just keep lining up these spheres and kind of creating these edge. You know, great thing about snow is it's very blobby, so just kind of making this tree line as we're going along, which we will add trees onto later, of course. Through all of our blobs. And yeah, going into object mode, we can actually now adjust all of this to our heart's content just using our flat tool. And we can even go in later and add some creases and very specifics that we might want. Because this is just the first step, is just kind of creating like these edges that rocks have, kind of like these sharp edges, these lines. It's almost like cubish in nature. Yeah, just flatten that out. I could smooth out some of the stuff. Ooh, that kind of like looks like dinner rolls on a plate. Scale that down as well. Just kind of creating like those sharp flat edges that the rocks would have. It's a little easier to do in sculpt mode than it is to do in the actual edit mode. As you can see now, like even between the different spheres that we had, they're kind of melding together, which is good. Let's go back into edit mode here, and then we can do the other side of the tree line. Just duplicate that onto the other side here. An easy way though to really find out which depth you need something to be at is you can, I want to be in object mode here. You can select your cursor and then from your camera perspective, just like click. And since we have the ground plane set up with the exact camera angle and everything, it just tells you exactly where that rock would exist. So now if I go into edit mode, I can just duplicate a rock and move it to that spot, and that will be where that rock was supposed to be at inside of our reference image. That's why lining up on your reference image is very useful, because it allows you to just make quick adjustments very fast and very easy. Alright, that's good there. I'm going to kind of just fill out this section. Again, we've got those bigger rocks that we can kind of just line up there. The smaller ones kind of as well, and then we're going to flatten stuff out and kind of just even it as we're going. Just duplicate that again. Should be good. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. How are you doing today on this cozy Sunday? It's like it's actually not too hot outside. It's not too cold, at least where I'm at. So it's kind of a nice day. I guess a good day to stay inside, right? No? That would be more like a snowy day. Right now all I'm doing is we're just creating a bunch of spheres that's going to create the outline of our pond. And then if we select our spheres, we can go into sculpt mode. And just using our flat tool inside of sculpt mode, we can actually just start to mesh a lot of these rocks together. Because, oops, I'm on the wrong tool right now. But yeah, we could swap over to our flat tool here, or flatten tool, and then just kind of create these like sharper edges. And we can go in and add our crease tool later to kind of, can you give a good course suggestion for learning Blender? I don't know too many courses, honestly. I never took any courses on Blender. I'm completely self-taught, actually. I would have to think more about it. I don't know too many people that create courses. I was asked to make a course on Blender. I just haven't done that yet. So that might be something that's going to be coming in this new year. I've mostly been focusing on trying to grow my YouTube channel first. So just doing these live streams, and I have a couple videos planned to come out over the next few weeks, some tutorials, and also some behind the scenes of some stuff I got to work on. For instance, a Netflix film that I did visual effects on is coming out next week. So I will be talking a little bit about the process that goes into doing visual effects for a Netflix film, and even how we got to use Blender in some Netflix films. So some really cool stuff like that is planned to come out here very soon. But as far as specific courses, I don't know any off the top of my head that are already out. But, of course, subscribe to this channel. I will be planning on releasing some more content very soon to talk about that stuff. So, good tutorials and whatnot are coming on their way. I just made a tutorial actually for Action VFX. That was my first tutorial I ever made, so and it was a good process. So if you guys want to know how to import 3D models and such into different 3D softwares, then you should check that out. Do I do you do VFX type of stuff? Yeah, I do visual effects for feature films as well as television. So I've worked on Netflix as well as HBO Max films, and then I got to work on some TV shows for like Ted Lasso and For All Mankind, so different television networks, specifically Apple TV was that one, and then and a lot of indie content for different projects. So yeah, I do visual effects. I'm a general VFX artist. I do compositing as well as 3D. So today, for instance, we're just creating a single image. It's just going to be that reference image here. Actually, I'll show you. I created this in Midjourney as like a reference image, like just a picture, and then we're recreating it inside of 3D, inside of Blender. Oh, you enjoyed the video with the deer. Thank you so much. Really nice to be able to take in different workflows. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming back and or checking that out and then coming here. I've been doing these for a few months now, and it's been a great learning experience, honestly, because it's like you get to practice doing different types of images and workflows, and that's what I really like, is that every single stream is a little different and it kind of stretches you in a different way. There are a couple of things on this stream, for instance, that will be challenging, and that's kind of the fun part about visual effects, is that there's not really like a one-size-fits-all on how to do something. It's like there's so many different ways you can do visual effects that, you know, trying out new procedures and new workflows is sometimes very exciting and very fun. It's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. Made you put on a notification for this one. Did it really make you put? Oh, you did turn notifications on. Thank you. Sweet. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to stream at least once a week. I actually have some other ideas for streams, so I might start doing more than once a week. I was thinking about doing like a general compositing, like visual effects stream, and that would be, you know, a little different than my 3D streams that I'm doing. And show maybe the process behind doing compositing shots or even doing 3D visual effect shots. For instance, Action VFX released their new library of practice material. So I was chatting with them about the possibility of just doing some streams where I'm showing how to do different 3D visual effect shots from start to finish, creating plates and doing all of that. So definitely that might be coming forward. Getting late for Sweden though, so have a nice stream. Oh, hello Sweden, how you doing? I'll probably watch the VOD for future videos. Oh, thank you so much for joining in, and I look forward to talking with you guys more in the future. Thanks for dropping in, and hello Sweden, that's crazy. It's always cool to hear where people are from, because that's the cool thing about visual effects, is it's like a very universal industry. It can be done really all around the world. But yeah, my future plans really are just, I've got a couple videos planned to come out for the next few weeks that'll be talking about some of the films that I got to work on this last year, as well as some tutorials on how you guys can really do that in your guys' work. So let's go ahead. I'm just flattening this out right now and just kind of creating more of these like rigid edges, and that's already starting to look really good. Just started out with spheres, honestly, and you can see that here, and then just kind of sculpting all of that to have like this mushy snow. I'm probably gonna lower this over here, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little high, so let's go ahead and just use the grab tool. You can use the elastic grab also, and if you do elastic deform, you can kind of bring everything down, and it does this really nice, and that works a lot better because we're gonna fill that in with trees back there. So let's go ahead and go into object mode. I'm going to swap that to 2 for our rendered view. There we go, so that way everything's kind of lined up. And of course hit that save button to make sure that you don't lose any of your guys' progress. Let's see. So that's the rocks, and now kind of adding in those trees. We also have like some of this snow that's coming up on the surface of the pond, and we can do that a couple ways. We can do that inside of just shading and have just the shader not make it icy there, or we can actually kind of add a little bit more 3D geometry that is popping up as well. I probably recommend doing that. Let's see how we can do that. Probably just take, I'm gonna do some organization here first. For our spheres, we'll just call that rocks, and then for this we'll call this ice, because I want to almost just duplicate this plane and then just right click, and that'll leave it exactly in the area where it's at. And now if we call this snow, we'll be able to adjust all of that. I'm gonna just disable it for right now, and then let's create a new collection. Call this layout, and I like to just kind of keep everything a little bit more organized. Inside of this collection we could call it camera, and that way when we do add a, for instance, I'll add an empty, where's that at, the plane axis, you can call this focus, and that just stays under the camera collection, keeps everything a little bit more organized. I'll add a few more collections that I know we will be having, for instance lighting, and then I always like to have another collection called FX, that's for our fog layer, and then we'll just do one called for character as well, and the character we can do that in a moment. And of course when we do the botanic there will be a new collection called botanic, and that's going to be for all of our trees. So with that being said, let's actually start to add those in here. I use a plugin called Botanic, and this is just for all of my trees that I have. It's an asset library of trees. That way we don't have to model these from scratch. It also has rocks, by the way. I'm not using their rocks because I wanted to have more of a specific style, what I was going for. Also because I'm not quite sure that they have exactly what I need, because they're not really snow-covered rocks. It's just an asset library of like granite and basalt and whatnot. They also might not necessarily have the trees that I want, because those are very snow-covered trees. But let's just check, because they do have snow trees. Let's see. Kind of more of these, honestly. I like that. I also like this. I just add that in. Yeah. I'm gonna just duplicate these and just start adding these around. Drop that down a little bit. I think you can also randomize the variant. Yeah, you can, which is gonna be great for. Move that up. Move that over, and we're just gonna have to fill in all the way around. The funny thing about adding in trees is that it always just feels like you never have enough. It's like once you think you have enough, you can kind of see through it in the render, so it's like you need it to be super thick. So what I like to do sometimes is just adding in a group of these trees and then just duplicating them. Because it is just a forest, like, you know, it's a forest that doesn't need necessarily them in specific places. Just kind of adding the thickness in there. Oh, the other thing you might need it, we'll do that in a moment. I'm going to, let's actually take this. Hey yo, how's it going, Beef? I'm gonna actually take this and just move this over here. And then under our camera, we can just increase the viewport distance, because right now it's clipping out at 100 or 1,000, or yeah, it is 100. So let's just do 1,000. Just increase the viewport distance. We'll just select those. This is our kind of our mesh of trees that we have. And honestly, you can even change, if you want to change the rotation of everything, you can kind of change this to be individual origins. So that way when you do rotate, it just rotates the trees there. And that way you can kind of just have, you know, if you're worried about too many duplications, that's totally what you could do. And I'm going to put these back here and, ooh, hello. I'm just going to kind of create like a little more of randomacy of the tree height, for maybe there's a bit of a slope back there or something, you know, you never know. Okay. Now, if we select our trees right here, we're just going to continue our path. Okay, and that's going to be all the trees in the back end there. I do want to see, we've got this was the type of tree we were adding in. Maybe change it up a little bit. We have these pinus ones. I don't think we were necessarily using pinus. Oh, we were. We were using A and B. So let's add some C's in. Oh, whoops. Spawn the C in. We'll just scale that up. And we're just gonna put that. There's good. And we'll just duplicate that a couple times. Move that down. Just kind of giving ourselves those trees that we're seeing. Some really tall ones on top of these rocks. Move that down, I guess. And then we'll add some bushes and whatnot into this area here. Again, just hitting the save button as we're moving along. We also have these guys right here. I might add those in. It's more like Christmas-like trees, or cedrus. Just add that in as we're going along. Kind of just scale that up, actually, maybe not too much. And we'll just duplicate and just add those into our depth of our stuff. Something back there. We also got like these lovely birds and whatnot. We can add those in ourselves as well. But that might be more of a compositing thing. So sometimes it's good to separate the 3D part from the compositing part. And what may be good to do here, let's see what we've got. We don't even really have a light, so you know it'll be hard to kind of tell what we got going on, but from here you can really see what's going on with the tree line. And kind of what everything looks like here in the 3D view. May want some more stuff over here just to fill that in, although I'll say I'm kind of okay with that. It feels more natural. I'm more concerned about this down here because you shouldn't be able to see through tree lines, you know? So if you kind of take this whole section of trees here, just grab all of that. We'll just duplicate that and then just move them down. And create like this artificially bush. Now if we go look at that in 3D again, or rendered again, you'll see that it very much fills in. And that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. We might want to take one of these big trees here and just add that in the back there, just to have that. I really like that idea. So let's go ahead and grab like this big tree, take this, and we'll duplicate it, move it over here. Again, we can kind of move it up, you know, and that gives us that really nice tall tree. I like that. It gives us a nice tall tree and kind of captures the image pretty nicely. It gives it like this vignette of the trees. Okay, we'll hit the save button there, and we can start maybe adding some lighting in. You know, this is a pretty basic scene, so you know that's why it's like I like to set up the entire scene first, and then we can add in the girl and stuff like that. So let's see. I'm going to just right there. I think this is about where the girl should be standing. Let's go ahead and add the girl in. I feel like there's not much more 3D modeling we can necessarily do. So I was going to use human gen just for our character, and of course we will want that to be female. And let's see, we'll just do that. I don't know if you can necessarily make more stylistic characters inside of human gen, but we will give it a we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. I think probably, see, that's already at 0, and you can just, it really doesn't do much, honestly. It's kind of funny. It actually, when you, oh, the more skinny, gotcha. For some reason I was thinking 0 would be like the most skinny, because I was thinking about it as like a weight meter, not necessarily a skinny meter. Okay, so how would we go about, so that's the body, individual scaling. Okay, if we did want to make it like that more cartoony character look, how would we go about doing that? Less of a neck, I guess, bigger head, and just kind of smaller limbs on pretty much everything. So just scale up the head a little bit. Let's see, we're working with a kid or a younger teen or whatever, so let's see, the neck, yeah, smaller neck, and yep, that's fine. Kind of just making everything smaller except for the head, basically. Is that the trick? This does feel weird to do this without clothes, so I'm gonna add some clothes on here in a second. This is a very strange process. Let's see, shins, yep, that's all good. And let's see, with the head, can I really make it any bigger than that? Like a 3? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. I think that's fine. I can always manually do this in sculpting mode as well, if there's anything like specific that I want to do. We're only going to be seeing the back of this person, so Do we even see hair? Oh, of course we do. Kind of more of a bun. I could add some more hair in if we need to, so I'm not too concerned about that. Alright, that should be good. Hair, don't need to do skin necessarily. Alright, let's work on the clothing, please. Kind of more of a wintry garb. I'm gonna already have to hand make the ice skates because I guarantee you they don't have ice skates in this plugin. Frosty evening. That works, I guess. They don't have gloves. I feel like they should have gloves. And then I do have boots. I guess I could take like pirate boots and then just add a blade onto the bottom of it, and then basically you've got yourself ice skates, right? Is that how ice skates work? If you're taking pirate boots and just add a blade onto the bottom of it, that's how you have ice skates. Now if I just take this whole thing and just rotate it around. See what's our scaling that we're working with here. Kind of just take this whole thing, scale it up a little bit, and then scale down the z-axis. Problem with matching like a reference image, or I should say the good part about matching a reference image is that you can kind of just line everything up pretty easily. It's funny, the arms are already kind of out, doing like that balancing thing that people do when they're ice skating, just because it's an A pose for, you know, 3D. Kind of just line this up a little bit better. There we go. I really like the naturalness of the pose that they went with. I know they just study for like a lot of these like AI references or whatever. They just study a lot of photos of like how natural poses are. Makes it a lot easier than me having to go take a photo or video of myself trying to ice skate and then just using that. Okay, let's see. Let's line that up. What do we have here? Then I'll create the blades, of course, on the bottom. Let's do something like that. Like that's going to be a little bit more forward, and then line that up there. Whoa, her arm is very much bent backwards. Good thing that I'm looking at this in 3D. Okay, I'm lining up the left arm a little bit better. Just rotate that outwards, I guess. I like that. Doesn't match perfectly, but that's fine. We're allowed to have our own version. And kind of... Alright, good. As far as the hair goes, the hair particles are hidden, so we'll just enable that so that we can see what we're doing here. And I'm going to go in and to sculpt mode. For this head, can I just use the grab tool? I can. Great. Can I just scale her head up? How do I do this? Do I have to go in like, okay. I turned that all off. So if I just do that, then I just do relational scaling. Oops. Just make that a lot smaller. And you don't really see that, so that's fine. Trying to see the difference there. I think I'm fine with that. I'm gonna have to edit the particles here of the hair a little bit better. It looks a lot better. The proportions are better because otherwise it just looks like a small adult rather than what we're going for. Let's see. Now that I did that, we're gonna have issues. Not in particle edit. I needed to go to sculpt mode. That's what I needed. And then I'm gonna kind of smooth out this kind of wrinkles that we have here. I don't think we're necessarily seeing that, but let's go ahead. I thought I could edit in particle, or maybe I can't. I did it on a model before, so that's why I thought I could. Okay, we'll have to fix the hair for sure, so let's just go and do that. Go to our particle edit, and if we select base, I believe that is this guy right here. Got baby hairs, flyaway, single. That's just for the bun. I believe it's base. Base is a good amount of it though. It's not all of it. So we'll go to our particle edit mode here. We'll just take everything and we're just gonna puff it. A little bit, not a lot. Okay, great. And now I'll go back to object mode. And that's really good. You may also want to change the, because this isn't going all the way to the bun anymore. So if we go into our particle edit mode again, we might need to change the length of said hairs and make sure that that goes all the way. Since we're kind of scaling everything up. Just scale, scale, scale. And currently don't need to do too much editing as far as that's concerned, because that may not be connected to our bun, so just kind of bring that all up there and then go back into object mode. And it looks like we'll need to fix this up here. So again, particle edit mode. Also, we might have, is that a, yeah, she's got like this little doodad in her hair. A doodad. We'll just comb that down now. Though I need to start messing around with the new tools that they have, because they've got like a snake hook tool that I really like. Okay. That's gonna have to do for now. Her hair's a little messy, but that's fine because she's out ice skating. That's intended, okay? The bun, baby hair. How is the bun created? How do they do that? It's pretty crazy. The thin strands are fine. I think all of that's good. And then I'm going to kind of create like this doodad that's going to go around her hair. So I'll do that by just creating a torus. Oops, not a cone. A torus. Just scale that down. It was a hairband, I guess is what it would be called. And we'll just kind of fit that there. Hey, Control X, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. I'm gonna turn that off, and then I think it's you can scale something and then scale it only on like kind of like around the rings. Forget how to do that. It might be like Alt S. Yeah, Alt S. That's how you do it. Like saw a video during the week that you could do that, and I was like, that has changed my life. I will now use that. Then every time I go to Blender, I can't remember how to do it. And I'm too proud to search it up, so that's my problem. Let's go ahead and hit the save button there. Where did it add this torus? Where did it put you, Mr. Torus? Okay, kind of put it under human gen. I'm gonna hide all of this botanic stuff. Okay, great. Now we can't really see any of that, so you know, honestly, it's not bad. I have to make the blades though on the bottom of the shoes. But I'm kind of cool with the scaling that we created for everything. Not too bad, not too shabby. I was concerned that we weren't going to get really the shape that I wanted because I had never used human gen for specifically more of a cartoony look. And lately I haven't been super happy with it at all for more realistic looks. So I just haven't been using it all that much. Though I have to check. It's like that's one of the things that kind of annoy me the most right now about Blender is that there's not really an easy way for you to check for new versions on stuff, on plugins and whatnot. Okay, we're gonna have to do like ice skates. Let's see. I'm gonna open up. I need ice skate blade. Just give me like reference images of what that might look like. Here's the blades that they're giving me. That works. So I'm just gonna add this to the heel of the boot. See, this is why the pirate, I'm telling you, literally ice skates are pirate boots with blades on them. That's what an ice skate is. And you can't tell me otherwise. So it kind of goes down and connects to kind of like two parts of the shoe there. So we'll have to do that. But yeah, that ice skates are literally just pirate boots. Wait a second. And this goes kind of to the front and then up, right? So if we select this top here, I'll just extrude it, something like that. And then, let's see the back. Does it stick off the back? A little bit, it does, yeah. Just kind of goes off. And just kind of extrude this up. These are just very basic shapes right now. So that's going to be the heel of the shoe. And then, let's see, and then we got one in the front here as well. And again, kind of just extrude that upwards. Now we can kind of smooth everything out. And I'm not too concerned about making it sharp, although we could make it sharp, but let's just do that through subdivide surface. And we can adjust how much curvature we want here by something like this. Just adding in those extra edge loops. This gives you kind of like a free pass on it. So there you go. Booyah. You got yourself blades. And you can make them sharper if you want by different means. I think we'll be far enough away where you're not really going to see that. And more so, I just want the design of this on the shoe. So let's go ahead and just take that to the bottom of our pirate boots that we added. Who knew? Who knew that ice skates were just pirate boots with blades on the bottom? So really, here's my idea for a film, okay? You got pirate boots, or pirates, with ice skates, and the ocean is completely frozen over. And instead of them having muskets, they've got their pirate boots that they're wearing, and the pirate boots have like sharp edge like swords, and they fight each other with their pirate boots. So they're skating around and they're kind of like slashing at each other with their pirate boots. And then you've got like these ships, and the ships are on top of the ice, and then the wind's kind of blowing them, and they're like maybe like those you know, like those dog pulling Eskimo thingies. That's kind of like pirate ships, but like on a larger scale. And maybe it's like polar bears, and then the polar bears also have like kind of blades on them. And so then it's just a bunch of dudes skating around with their ice skates with like swords connected to their ice skates, and they could be slashing each other with their sworded ice skates. Tell me that's not a genius. That's not a genius idea. Oh wait. I'm waiting for that film to come out. That's the next Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean, Icy Waters. That'll be like the name of the film. And I'm pretty sure it's a $1 million idea. Okay, that's a bit low, so I'm gonna have to like bring everything up. So I'm just gonna select our boots with the fur, and just kind of bring everything up now to be on top of our ice skates. Crazy though, dude. Pirate boots with blades connected to them. And that's you can take that one to the bank. Okay, great. So we created our blades for our shoes, and now our female has I thought I heard the door open. I was like, who's here on a Sunday? Okay, so that's good. We can start getting into like lighting and shading and stuff like that. So I hit the save button, and we'll add in our lighting. We could use HDRIs. I like to use this thing called Atmosphere, or it's Physical Atmosphere. It's another plugin that I have. This allows me to really customize everything to the extent that I want it. It adds in this sun here, and it's like physical based lighting system. So it's pretty accurate to different settings that you might want. I can even show you what it's going to look like right now. Since the light is right here, it's more of like a sun is setting type of thing. Not exactly the look and feel that we are going for. Let's see. Let's actually turn off our background image that we have. Actually, I could do that pretty easily by doing that. Yeah, that's more of like a sunset, and we're not going for that. I kind of want more of like this. See, the shadows are still coming kind of towards the camera as if the sun is back behind the trees. But I do want it to hit more of that area over there. So we can do that. I'm going to change. I like to do that just by viewing it here, and you can kind of see everything you're trying to go for. Just bring the sun down a little bit more like that. And it was almost correct. Oops. It doesn't really matter where we're doing this. Go ahead and hit the save button again, and I'm just going to view it over here on this screen. And yeah, so now we've got the sun kind of coming from that angle over there. It kind of does blow everything out, and I think that's because I have my own color config file for Blender. So, That potentially is an issue. Let's see. So I have my own color management that I do inside of Blender, and that is viewed here. You can just see it under your color management settings. So I guess you can't really see that because my face is in the way. But I have my own color management settings here, and this is setting it to an sRGB display, which is correct, but it's also using for the sequencer, which again, my big fat face is in the way. But which I guess, actually, I'll just move this up here. There you go. I'm using my sequencer Filmite Linear. Wonder actually if I swap this to like 1886 or something like that, if it'll do a better job of visualizing it. I know that when I take it into the composite, I can get everything to be correct how I want it to be there. The more frustrating part though is the fact that it looks incorrect in this screen here. And then by the time that I get it over there, it's like I won't be able to adjust very much. I do find it actually makes everything look like it's going to be brighter inside of this window. And when then I take it into our compositor, it's not like that whatsoever. So that'll be something that that'll be a project that I have to work on at some point. Let's see. Using comparing renders, video, dim. It actually might even be this setting here, and I might even have an old config, so I'll have to look into that. Let's see. That's fine. But for right now, let's start working on some shading and get everything kind of where we want that. I'm gonna select our ice layer that we have here, and remember, we do have our tiny snow layer that we will later be using for geometry purposes of boosting up specific portions of it. But for right now, let's kind of just get our icy effect, so that way we can kind of see what we're working with as far as that is concerned. Do that by going in and creating a new material. So we'll do that right now. Call this ice. Icy floor, whatever you want to call it. And for us, I'm gonna just do another vertical split, and we'll add in a shader editor. And of course, we're working in cycles. You can work in Eevee, you can work in whatever you prefer. But for me, I prefer to work in more cycles-based rendering. I'm going to take the roughness and we're bringing that all the way down, because again, this is ice. So, and we can actually have variation in our ice, because maybe it's not all completely perfect, and that'll be something that we can totally do. But just taking down the roughness all the way will already give us pretty close to a look that we want. And maybe a little less blue. This music's intense, dude. It's like, yeah, he's changing the RGB values. Duh, duh, duh. Like, it's pretty crazy, man. I'm going to increase a bit of the clear coat here, and then I don't know that we need metallic necessarily, because I think, yeah, I don't think so. Although I kind of like that. And then I don't think we need subsurface scattering at all. Like if we did subsurface scattering, let's see. We could, just to give it kind of more of that feeling that there is like more of a murky underneath. Because subsurface scattering kind of just makes it so that when the light hits it, it scatters differently. And it kind of might have like a murky dark undertone to it, because it is water, and you want to make it feel like it's got layers to it rather than it is just a flat surface that's reflecting something. So adding kind of like a murky darker color to it might work really nicely. I'll probably just make it blue though. And keep in mind though, having more subsurface scattering also increases your render time, so that kind of works against you if you're under a deadline. For us, that's fine. I'm gonna add in a Musgrave texture, one of my favorite texture types, and that's because we'll want some variation to how much you can see through the different parts of the ice. If we scale this up, this will make everything smaller. So something like that might even be pretty nice. We're not really trying to find anything specific, but just having like a bit of variation to your image is very nice. I'm going to use a color ramp. And again, dude, okay, I gotta reinstall Blender. Every time I do this, it reminds me that I gotta do it because everything kind of starts to lag out for that. But for our roughness, you can see here that we have everything set to like 0.041. So with that, we might want our roughness to be almost black, but then have a bit of white tint to it. And instead of this being white, we'll probably want it to be somewhat gray. And if we take this now and plug this into our roughness of our principled BSDF, this will create some patches that are not as reflective, and that'll give us our variation on our snow floor. So just trying to kind of create that variation. Might want to increase this level of our roughness as well. And there are different types of noise patterns that you can use. I'm using specifically Musgrave, but there are different ones. Let's see, where are those located under? There's like inputs, I think, and I'm using Musgrave. But they have different, there might not be inputs. But they have like different noise ones as well. So like for instance, I can use noise texture. They also have a wave texture, and noise will look something more like this. It's just like kind of like a bunch of choppiness to it. And we can add that in to our current Musgrave that we have, just so that it doesn't even feel like blobs, it feels more like chomps of blobs. And so if we use this kind of noise texture up here, we can say, let's use the mix node, and then we'll swap this to color. And then if we plug our FAC from this guy into the A input, and then in the other input is just black, pure black, or whatever the value of our negative was there, we can actually, well, I guess it's whatever the negative value of this Musgrave is, which would be pure black. We can actually just use the height of the Musgrave as our FAC. So now we are going to be only receiving stuff where there's white on this Musgrave. And let's change that from mix to like subtract or something like that. Right? Am I doing this right? Pretty sure I should just be doing an over or something like that. I gotta check my math on this. So it's the A, I'm gonna be adding A wherever the Musgrave is. Pretty sure it should just be a mix. Float, color, and then if we plug in our FAC here into the A, then you should have the black, and then plug this into the factor. Am I doing something wrong here? I think my math is off or something. Oh, there we go. Yes, I had it backwards. So now we can change our amount of choppiness that we want to have, and that creates the variation with inside of our blobs rather than it just being what it was before. Increase that. Now if we go view this, we can actually just try to create the look that we're going for. If we increase the size of that, that looks better. That looks better for the scaling that we're going for. And then now if we go view our screen, you can see that kind of inside of our values. And now we plug this result into our color ramp. instead of what it was before. And if we go view our principled BSDF, that will give us that choppiness that we had, but with inside of our result here. And now I'm probably going to just make this full white. And we can kind of increase the amount of, and this will create more patterns of like kind of almost like frosted areas on the snow surface, but very contrasty. And that will not be as reflective, and you can kind of see that there, and that's all really good. Might want to increase the amount on our Musgrave, because now we can just increase the scaling of this. Actually, sorry, decrease the scaling is basically what we want. And so she'll be on the smooth portion, while there will be a big chunk here that will be less so. So let's just go back to our principled BSDF. And now we can see that inside of our pattern here. And that gives that really nice kind of like realistic, frosty, kind of non-dirty texture. And that helps make it look a lot more realistic. Let's see, let's take our subsurface scattering here and bring that down. And then take our overall blue that we have here and kind of just decrease that, as well as decreasing our saturation, I think. Yeah, that's a lot better. And overall now, we may actually want to have some roughness kind of just everywhere, rather than it just being super smooth and silky smooth, because that's probably not that realistic. We can actually take the same noise texture that we have here, we'll just duplicate that. And if we go view that, I'm going to make even the scaling even smaller. And basically we have kind of, this is only happening in this particular part of the area, whereas everywhere else it's just black. And we can fix that by kind of having, let's see, if we take this and then add that on top of another texture that we're doing the exact same thing, but it's like everywhere, that might work. So let's see, if we add in another color ramp after this noise texture, that way we can control the amount of brightness that we basically are going to be having here. I'm probably going to just select this white one, because we don't want that much roughness on the non-silky smooth area. We kind of just do that. We can make it more contrasty now by doing this. And that should be good. Now if we take our overall kind of like very bright areas that'll be very very rough, I'm just going to be using kind of a mix node and adding that on top of it. So if we just take a mix node, and then we'll take our color values, and instead of mixing, I'm going to be doing adding. And we're going to add this with, I think, B. I don't know, does that, yeah, so that'll make this very white, and then that will stay the same. Let's just double check. Yeah, and yes. And now if we plug that into our roughness, kind of everywhere will have like that kind of choppiness feeling to it. That'll give it more of like that realistic ice effect. But then there will be some areas that will be quite a bit more rough, that'll look like that's not dried out at all. Like this is almost like moisture-y, you know, on the ice. And great, so that's kind of our effect that we're doing here. Is basically we're just using several different noise textures and whatnot to make a procedural ice kind of effect. Let's just clean this up here, and that allows us to kind of have a nice procedural ice effect. Yeah, it's pretty simple, it's not that complicated. So let's go ahead and hit the save button there. And we may want to do piles of snow. I don't know. I'm already starting to like how this looks. I'm liking how the direction in which we're going here. It's funny, I didn't even have to pose the hands because the hands were kind of like left somewhat open because that's what the generic hand effect is. Okay, let's do the snow now because the snow still doesn't have an effect on it. And we may want to do something to it. I did download snow textures last week, but let's go ahead and look at our textures that we can get. I like to go to Polyhaven. Polyhaven has a library of free textures that you can use in your models. I also have HDRIs and 3D models that you can download as well. And then from here, I'm just going to search for snow. Let's see what they've got. So I might go for this snow pattern here. I don't think I used this one last week. I may have. Yes, I did. So since I did use it, I'm not going to download it again. Just go to my downloads folder and grab it from there. Snow 2. Snow 2. Go to our textures and we can drop that in now. So we will have our diffuse. Just drag that in there. We'll have our displacement, our roughness. We're not going to use translucency. And then we'll have our normals. So now let's just plug these into the correct areas. If I plug this into our base color, for instance, we'll already get that kind of lining up for us. I'm going to, I have Node Wrangler, so I just press Ctrl T and it adds in a texture and a mapping for me. And then if I add in a value, I can drag and drop that into the scale. And this will allow me to basically adjust the scaling of our image just from this one slider, which is very useful. Actually, I wonder, I don't think I can from here change those values. I thought maybe it would pop up on this window. But yeah, now I could just plug this vector into all of our images that we imported. And so that way I can adjust the scaling just from that. I'll need that also plugged into our displacement as well. So how will we plug these in? The roughness just goes into the roughness. And then the normals will need a normal map. And you just plug your color into the normal map, and then that goes into normals. And let's see. This right here, we will use a math node that goes from our displacement into our math node. And we're just going to use a multiply. And we could set that by whatever value we want. I generally find like 3 to 4 is probably going to be a good number. Although, I guess we'll see here. And that creates, you know, we can already see it. It's adding in like this extra little texture here that we didn't have before, just from the displacement. And so that way the sun can kind of catch it in different angles and create like these tiny little micro shadows that we weren't going to have before. We can kind of view what that material is doing by just going to our displacement. And even an easier one is just by going to roughness and just kind of seeing what the roughness is doing. I think we need to set this to sRGB first. I guess there really isn't that much roughness to these files. So if you go to normal or displacement, you can kind of see it a little bit easier. Displacement is the popping, the size of it. It's going to be, if I change that to like a 4, you can see that if I view that, that'll make everything multiplied by even higher of like how much you want it to displace. So we can change this value over here to like a 5, and it will kind of make everything quite a bit smaller. And if we go view our normals now, you can kind of see what that's doing to the entire scaling of everything. Probably 4 is about correct. So now I just go view our principled BSDF, and you can kind of see what that's doing here. And that's about the right size. I think that's going to work for us. And that's really easy. I mean, we did most of our work earlier by just creating all that geometry by flattening everything out. And honestly, this is just a bunch of spheres. Just a bunch of spheres duplicated. Now, we don't have to add any clouds in because we have it with this plugin. But I find that it kind of looks nice if we do. So why not? The other thing we don't necessarily have to do for this image, but again, I kind of like to add this into everything, is some fog. So let's see, we have our lighting. Let's just add the lighting into that one. Our hair tie can go into our human gen thing. Let's see, what is this cube? Oh, is this for our... Yeah, this will go into our person as well. That's our character. And we can just move that into our character section. And botanic can be moved under layout, because technically it is layout. But if we select effects now, we can actually just add in a huge cube. I'm just going to do that right here. And really, this is just going to be catching light. So grab that on the Z-axis, and we'll scale that down. Just kind of do that. Now if we grab this other edge here, we can actually just grab that, move it all the way back, and we're just going to scale it up. Probably even go all the way back here. That's fine. Because again, the idea of this is really just to add in some nice volumetric fog. And so it just needs to fit with inside of that. I have this under effects because this is more of an effect type of render. And if we go over here to our settings, we can actually go to viewport display and then make sure this is just wireframe. So that way when we're rotating around, we can still see everything pretty easily. That's the idea behind that. So we'll hit the save button there, and then we're going to add in a new material for this, and we'll just call this fog. We can delete our principled BSDF and add in a volume scatter. Plug this into the volume, not your surface material output, and we can change our density now to something like 0.01, change our interpocy to be something like 0.65. Should work pretty nicely for us. And now when we go into our 3D, you'll see that we have all of this fog in here, and it kind of creates this very magical sun ray, god ray effect that's happening from our sun. And that's kind of giving that nice wintry vibe that we didn't have before. Everything was very crystal clear, and now everything feels very, very like morning. She's ice skating out in the morning, you know, and that's really nice. And we can adjust all of this through our density. So we have 0.01, so we have 0.006, and that'll make it less dense. So we'll have a little bit less of that effect going on. Because again, we don't want it too foggy. It's not like we're trying to make it feel like you're in a storm. So just finding that balance of what you're going for. Might even go a little bit less. Let's do 0.004. And that works really nicely. And then now we still don't even have like clouds in there. And we could add clouds, though you're not really going to see it because the sky's kind of blown out. And maybe we don't need clouds. I think for this render, let's just go without clouds. We don't need clouds on this one. And this is a pretty simple render setup. I mean, honestly, we did this pretty quickly. I don't know, how long have we been streaming, really? Started streaming, what? It says 83 minutes ago. Did we do this whole thing in an hour and a half? There's no way we did the whole thing in an hour and a half. That's pretty crazy. But it's a pretty simple thing. We'll be adding in some birds, although you can't really see the sky. Huh. Let's see. Let's add in some of the snow on the ground. I think we can add some snow piles. Since we got time, I mean, we got a little bit extra time. I'll do this, and then we can get into some compositing. So let's select our snow layer that we have, and let's see. We're gonna just select that, and we're gonna go into create a new material. Call this snow top, and I think what we could do is let's select our snow, regular snow. If I just take this, yeah, Control C, and then we'll go to our snow top and then paste it. We're gonna kind of use this as our basis for our material. but we only want this in specific parts of the image. We don't want geometry everywhere. So we could do that a couple different ways, and this way we're going to be using the kind of like the alpha of like an image. So if we use a Musgrave, because that's our favorite render image layer, our textured material thing, just go into our setting here, and then we're going to take this Musgrave and we're just going to scale this bad boy up. We just want like quite a bit of it. Very small pieces. Something like that. That works really well for me. And then let's see, let's actually take another, we'll just go into here and we'll create another Musgrave. We'll go view that. And as you can see, it's like kind of just generalized. Almost, I do like that. So let's use a color ramp. We're going to take that color ramp and we're just going to make this super contrasty. Going to really eat into the areas that we have. The idea of this is that you're creating like these like really small sections where something could exist. And if we change the detail on that, something like not quite. I'm looking for something that's like close to camera and not. Of course, we could just paint this if we really wanted to. Let's do this. It's pretty close. I think right about there is fine for me. So the idea of this is that we're going to be taking this Musgrave texture and we'll be taking this Musgrave texture, and then we'll be kind of creating a mix of the two using a color. And if we plug in, let's see, this is our area in which we want stuff. So this gets plugged into the FAC. And if we just go look at what we're going to do here, you can see that the area where the white stuff happens to be, or the lighter gray stuff happens to be, is where we want this texture to be. So we plug this into B. So now you're creating like tiny little piles of snow in the areas in which you're saying that it should be at. And that is about correct. That's good. So now we could take that as a whole. This will just be our alpha. We can take this and we can plug this into our alpha of our snow layer that we brought in. Let's see, it's that one. I'm zoomed really far out, so it's a little hard to see. There we go. So now it's plugged into the alpha of our snow. And so now if we go view our snow, it should only put snow in the areas in which we have that. Okay, great. That works, but you'll notice that everything is still kind of everywhere. Let's see, let's disable our ice. We should have alpha basically otherwise, and I think we need to enable that. Under settings, I know in Eevee you have to like basically make it possible to be invisible. I don't know if you necessarily have to do that here as well, but you're basically setting the alpha channel of it. Let's see. So transparent, that's basically what I need. I need this transparent, and maybe not plugging this into alpha, but if we do a mix shader, select mix shader, and then use this as our matte, and we can go view it. Yep, we'll be using this as our matte, and we'll be putting this in the areas that we want the snow to be at, and then this in the areas that we want it to be transparent. And so now if we go view that, it should give us only transparency in the areas that we need it. Or it actually did vice versa, so swap that. Okay, great. That actually works. Let's disable our fog so we can actually see what we're doing. And you can see now we only have snow in the areas that we need the snow to be at. This is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. But now we need it to feel 3D. It needs to bump upwards a little bit. And in order for us to do that, we can add a solidify actually into our thing. Let's go over here to our modifiers, and then if we swap this to solidify, change the thickness of it to go upwards. And then now let's go back into our render view and see how well that works. If that doesn't quite work, we can actually also change the displacement here as well. So we could take our displacement value that we have, plug that into displacement. Because we don't really care if it's displacing something that's transparent. And that's plugged into our mapping. We just change our scaling of that. Turn off the solidify because I don't think that's working too well for us. So now you've got this snow. And now if we re-enable our ice, we'll have to move our snow upwards. Let's go over here. We'll just go back to that view. Okay, and let's just go to this side view. I think that's the easiest way to do this. And just move that slightly up. Could literally just be like a millimeter. And go back to camera view, and we'll hit render view on that. Make sure to hit the save button, of course, as always. And now we're gonna have our little patches of snow throughout because of our little effect that we did there. And again, that just adds a tiny little bit of sauce. It's not big, it's not huge. The only other thing is now lighting for her. She's a little dark, so we can try to lift her upwards a little bit. Also, we're going to want her jacket to be red, so we'll do that here in a moment. I'm just going to add in an area light. And let's just go over here so that we can see what we're doing. Just add in a nice area light on her. And then with this area light, because we have a fog, we can actually go over to our visibility and then disable volume scatter. So that way it doesn't hit the fog and like do anything crazy with the fog later on. For right now, that's fine. I actually just really like just doing this other light that's kind of like on the reverse from the angle of like where the sun's going to be coming from on the other side. Usually gives me like a nice kind of like edge light on our person. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick. We'll just increase the strength of this. And we don't want it too strong, but we do want it there. So kind of want this also a little bit warmer. Just giving us like a bit of an edge light to what we're working on. I'm going to bring it a little more down, kind of just match the sunlight a little bit better, like the angle in which the sun is coming, just to give us a nice edge there. I'm going to select our jacket that we have, and then we're using, of course, our human gen, so we can go in and adjust the colors of our jacket. We can actually add patterns. Interesting. I might like a pattern. Kind of like a polka dotty look. And colors are all black. Is that actually true? Parka. With some white polka dots, that's what I want. Make the stitches white. Or not red. I want them white. And then, let's see, for the polka dots, let's make them all white. And then can we change the size of these? They're huge. Transform, and then we can adjust the scaling to be like 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. They're all like invisible now. Oh, okay, because it made them like too large. So how do you guys feel about the two? Let's see, let's make it like 3. Kind of like that. I know she doesn't have any polka dots there, but kind of darker blue jeans also. Just a little bit darker. It's winter, it's not the summer, so you're going to be wearing a little bit darker clothing. And then let's see. We've got the metallic shoes. We got to make sure that we do those cubes down there. Call these blades, and then we'll increase the metallic all the way. And let's see. Let's just go view these for a second. That's fine. And then we'll take the roughness and kind of bring those down. We can select blades for that one as well. And I talked about this last time. One of the things I really like to do... Oh, the shoe color. Do we want that to be a different color? Or are we staying with the pirate boot browns? And I also have to fix kind of the boot here a little bit, as well as this one. Yeah, let's do it in here. We'll go sculpt mode, and then we'll just do elastic grab or elastic deform. Just kind of make that so it looks better from camera. Just kind of drag that out so that way there's not really any clipping going on. Okay, that should look good. And from camera angle, you're not going to see it. As for the color, though, what are we thinking? Are we thinking like white? Because I know like a lot of ice skates are just white. We could do that. Just make these kind of white, and then go to camera view and see what that looks like. Yeah, I like that. That'll look nice. Go ahead and save that, and let's see. I like our light that we have here. Kind of almost want it to be duplicated and then just a little bit more even. We can always just delete this first one. It's a bit too much now. I like that a lot better, and yeah, that's disabled from volume scatter, so that'll work really nicely. Okay. I like this snow that we have here, but I do feel like there should just be more. So this is where a lot of like adjustments just come in. We're just seeing stuff that we want to adjust slightly, and we can go make an adjustment. I'm gonna delete that actually. That extra principled BSDF that we had there. So this is basically the amount of snow packs that we're gonna have. It doesn't make sense for it to be in front of where she's skating to, but it does make sense to have more. So just kind of having it all around. Also in this area kind of made more sense to have that there as well. So now let's go back to our mix shader, and if we view that, it kind of puts our piles of snow a little bit further away from camera too, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I think that looks pretty nice. That gives us a little bit more to break up that area that was like over there. Just felt it was a little empty over there. But yeah, okay, the only other thing that really is bothering me is that since we don't have any geometry over here, it kind of just feels empty to the world. So if we just add in a cube, we can actually just scale this guy up. I always like to add in a cube, and then if we just select this face and delete only the face, and if we select this outer edge here and just kind of scale everything up, it doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as we have it. We can add in a new material, and we just call this flag. I would probably just put this under lighting because again, this is a bit more of a lighting effect. Under our flag, now all we have to do is just change our base color to like a darker color. And this is gonna kind of suck a lot of the light out from bouncing infinitely into that area. And it makes you feel like there's a forest behind her rather than what it was before, which just felt so open. If we delete that, it just feels very flat because everything is just getting lit very dramatically from this side. So this gives us like a free idea of like the light is basically being absorbed from behind the camera, as if there's like a forest behind the camera that we can't necessarily see. And now if we enable our fog again that we have, let's see where we're at with all of this. We might be pretty close to being able to hit the render button, so that way we can composite this and make any final adjustments that we might have. So I'll go ahead and select our fog. Let's just change this to like 0.001, something very slight. I'm thinking this might be pretty nice. It's nice because it lights up everything, but it really doesn't take away too much of what's going on. I like that. Okay, great. If we do boost that back to 5, I'm kind of okay with this as well because it is more of like morning dew and it gives it more of like that fantastical feel to it that I really like. Yeah, I guess the only other thing that I would really want if we are going to do this is kind of just taking these big trees that we have along this edge here and just duplicating that outside of the view of the camera. And this will create some really nice lighting. It'll give some variation to the lighting, so that way you get some more streaks through the trees. And that's always quite nice to be able to have a little bit more variation with the lighting, especially since we are adding like this fog in there. It gives you like these free God rays that are kind of coming through. And it gives you like this nice effect, as if it's like a pool of light hitting the area in which she's ice skating, which is great. The only other thing now is, oh yeah, we can select our flag that we had, and we can actually just change the visibility on it for our viewport from textured just to wireframe, because again, it can get in the way and that can be very annoying. Under our human character that we have, we can find the hair tie, and this is the last thing that I think we really need to add in. Add in a hair tie, and then we'll just, you know, roughly match the color. It's just in her hair. Whoops. Actually, not quite sure where it's at. Oh, did we make adjustments? Oh, I guess we did move the character and everything, but we didn't select the hair tie. It's kind kind of line that up. We'll just shade it smooth. Just needs to be in her hair. Also think we can actually probably just go into edit mode here, and let's see. If we press Alt S, we can actually just scale it up. I know we made it thinner, but you know, it might make sense more so since she's a kid and she have like this big fluffy red hair tie in her hair. And then that will kind of finish that off. Really like that. I might change her hands up a little bit. Let's see. She's wearing like gloves. We just don't have gloves, so it's not like I can really easily do that. If I go, let's see. The only other thing is under the creation phase, if we go to her skin, we do need to turn on subsurface scattering. And also turn on the hair so that we can see it with the hair. And then I'll adjust the hand a little bit as well. I think we should be fine though with the skin. I think that works really nicely. Let's go to solid view here, and then whoops, I went to material view. That could crash a computer. Don't want to do that. Let's go to our model and adjust the hand. It just doesn't feel so generic. And just kind of having like a slight curl to part of the hand. I like that. That's pretty nice. Pretty natural. Just, you know, boop. A little bit of hand movement there. Or not movement, but hand positioning there. Hit the save button. Okay, great. I'm going to change our render settings now. Just render this out at 25%. And let's see, we'll change this to OpenEXR multi-layer. And if we go to our layer passes, we could just enable object and material. Hit the save button. Now we can just hit the render button and have that render out. Now I'm rendering this out at 25% resolution. That way I can do this live with you guys and we can do some compositing. Ooh, it's actually rendering out pretty quickly, so I might actually be able to do the final full render in this video. But I'm doing that so that way I can do it with you guys really quickly and do the composite. And while we're working on the composite, we can be rendering out the full resolution version of this. Need to make sure though. Yeah, everything's turned on. Oh, snow's not. Snow is not. Also, I can tell you already. Ah, man. I can adjust that in the comp, so I might just do that. I don't like how green that is. Yeah, so I just turned the snow back on. Hit the save. And then let's go ahead and render this out at quarter res, so that way we could composite it. While that's happening, I'm going to open up Nuke. So I composite in a software called Nuke. Link is in the description, by the way, for all the softwares and stuff that I use. But I use Nuke to do all the compositing for the basically visual effects that I do nowadays. I used to use After Effects, but now I kind of moved over to Nuke X, and I do everything there. And yeah, hey, take this moment while we're rendering this out to hit the like button on the video. I don't know if you guys have done that already or not, but please hit the like button. That helps the video out with traction and with it being shared with more and more people. So if you haven't done that already, please hit the like button and subscribe. I do these streams weekly. So this week we're doing this image, and then next week we'll be doing something else. If you have a recommendation of what you would like to see as far as a render goes, please comment that below. I would love to get recommendations on stuff, and that helped me create new content easier. You smashed that like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, MTO. Really appreciate it. Smash like, hit subscribe. I don't, is it smash? You smash like, smash subscribe. You know. I think I saw this video once that were like, hey, if you really want people to like video, you have to say it in like a unique way, because everyone says please hit the like and subscribe, but you have to say it almost like oh, lick that like button and wink at the subscribe. Okay. Like, like that's how you have to change up how you're asking people to do it. I don't know. I just say please like and subscribe. But yeah, this render is going pretty quickly today. Last time, I feel like it was a 10-minute render. It took forever. So it was like waiting for that and then to composite it. That's why I always try to render these out at like really small resolutions first. That way I could just do it live with you guys. You can really see actually how much light is being sucked out from that flag that we added in. Just by adding that flag in, it made everything just so much darker. And if we brighten up that material, you can actually customize how much light is really being bounced. Because if it's a white bounce, then you're going to get a lot of light just kind of bouncing off of that, very bright against it. The struggles of rendering. Yeah, my dream is one day to have like a GPU farm or something, so that way I hit the render button, it just goes boom, and then just like renders almost instantly. That's my dream. I thought that's how you know, professionals worked and all that, but nope. I have a pretty beefy computer too, so you know, it is what it is. You can only max out so much on this stuff. You want to do more animations, but make large scenes, so I don't want to wait days for it. True. And I haven't tried render farms. That is something that I really need to kind of get into. I think there are a few really decently cheap ones that are out there, and I kind of wanted to check those out. But yeah, I mean, I think render farms are the only way to do it if you're like an independent creator, because otherwise it just takes way too much time to render. I've been rendering out this, I've been doing a 3D logo for someone, and it's very complex with a lot of volumetrics, and that is taking literally days to render, and it's still going right now. It's at my home computer, so that thing's still going, it's still chugging along, and I don't know an easy way. So we're gonna use a shuffle node, because since we're using crypto mats, it actually creates like a bunch of layers for your image. And now you'll see if we just use the combined view layer, it'll actually give us our image. And as you can see, the sky's not as blown out. This is what I was talking about earlier. Sky's not as blown out as it was inside of Blender, and that's something that has to do with the color management settings. I gotta fix that because it's kind of, I know to expect it, but streaming my stuff is a little difficult. You have a 370 Ti. It's not bad, but with heavy scatter nature scenes, yes, 1000%. I think I have a 3080 in this. I have a 3080. Actually, I think I have a 3080. Let me double check. Forget what I have. Let's go to preferences, and then if you go under system, yeah, I have two 3080 Ti's, and then the Threadripper. That's the crazy part for me. I have this Threadripper, and so it's like using, you know, CPU rendering, is insanely fast. So using CUDA overall is really quick. That's just, I don't know, with 3D you really have to have a beefy computer because it has to do with iterations. When you're creating 3D scenes, you need to be able to iterate as much as possible, because otherwise if you only render once and then that's that, if it takes you 3 days to render something to be able to see it, then you're not going to take 3 more days to render it. So if there was a mistake, then oh well, that kind of sucks. So being able to iterate as much as possible is the only reason why having more graphics cards is really necessary. And so there is like a bit of like a plateau that kind of happens. Like I have two 3080 Ti's and I have a Threadripper, but like it still takes quite a bit of time to render. But at least then with that amount of speed that I'm able to do it at, I'm able to iterate much quicker. And that just allows you to create higher quality content because you're able to create more iterations and fix more mistakes that you have. And that's kind of the thing with 3D. It's like, it's the idea of like, if you had like real film and you were trying to iterate, oh well, that light is in the wrong spot of your film, and let's say you had to do a take and then it took you half a day and then they had to move the light. It's like you're only going to move that light so many times in an actual film set. So that's kind of the same thing with 3D. And trying to find ways to be able to render quicker, like maybe just make proxy versions of your renders, output those really quickly so that way you can see what you're doing. If you're doing animation, do viewport renders. Like that's the cool thing about Blender is, and you could do this in like a lot of other softwares as well. You do viewport renders, and so that way you could get your entire animation played back full speed and everything like that just through a viewport render. And that's the only way to really be able to see what you're doing there. Alright, so there's a couple things that I want to do with this image. I always love to add in some lens distortion, so we'll just go ahead and add that in right now, so when we're making all of our adjustments we can see what we're doing. You can load in like a specific map or anything like that, but for me I just add in the lens distortion node. Actually going to reformat this as well, because anytime you're going to do size related stuff, it's really important that this is the correct scaling. So we're doing 1920 by 1920 instead of what it was before, which was 480 by 480, because I rendered it out 25% resolution. So just scaling that back to where you need that to be. Now if we do add in our lens distortion, we can redistort this. And we can add in just a tiny bit of lens distortion. And it's going to kind of stretch the edges and give you more of a realistic effect on everything around. So if there's any straight lines in your render, they kind of bow how a real camera would bow the render. Because the idea of compositing is basically just trying to make everything look how it would look naturally in real life. And that's what we're trying to do with our renders. It's like we want to have a stylistic effect that we're applying to it, but at the same time we want it to have kind of like the real world chromatic aberrations and everything like that that would be happening. So with that being said, we can add in like a glow. This is going to glow everything, so we're going to probably want to change the tolerance of it. And what's cool about this is it like creates like this really nice kind of glow effect that's going to happen to your entire ground and everything. And so if you want, and this is the cool part about compositing, is like, oh well, I really like the glow down here, I like the glow over here, but I don't really like it over here. You can actually adjust those things using mattes. So I'm just going to add in a matte for this, for instance, and let's just say I only wanted the ground because I really like the way that this blooms down here. Kind of creates this really nice beautiful effect that's happening. I'm just going to create a matte of that, and then we'll just pre-multiply that through RGBA and add in an edge blur. And if we just, make that a size like 100, now we're only going to be glowing this section down here. We can actually add multiple glows in, but have like different parts of the image, so that way we can really fine tune the exact effect that we want. And having like that gives it this like really nice dreamy kind of like effect that's going on the ground. I really love that. Doesn't quite work as well up here because we already have this fog that's kind of glowing. So if we do add some glow, we can actually just add a little bit less glow than we had before. Why do I keep pressing G? G is for gray, guys. G is not for glow. I don't know if you knew that or not, but now you do. So now if we add some glow in, we're going to want to do specifically the top portion, like the sky. And so I'm just going to add another mask in. This allows us to really customize everything that we really want. and get the exact image that, you know, the director or you or whoever it is that's the artist is really going for. We're going to do RGBA. That's the channel we're doing that on. And then we'll add in an edge blur and then set that to like 300. I think that should work. Move that glow down as well. Thinking less for the glow, like the size could be quite a bit less. Because we're just glowing this up here more so than it already is inside of our render. And that's just kind of like boosting everything because that's that brightness level that we're really trying to achieve. And of course, then we have our lens distortion. So that's kind of like stretching everything to have that effect. After the lens distortion, that's kind of where we'll be adding in our grain. And right here, we already have a little too much grain. I find that if you do just something like this, tends to be a little closer. You could fine tune this to like the exact settings that you want and get everything there. I think that's going to work better for us. And then after your grain, that's like after the compositing, you would go into color grading. Like this is like, oh, post-processing of like everything would be color grading. And so you might have, let's just a section break off. And this is where we can add in like our, not green, our, let's just add a grade node. There's a couple different ways I can add a vignette. I'm just going to use a grade node, just down and dirty, what I want, which is down here specifically. Again, the idea of this whole thing is just kind of to make it feel more natural. Draw your eye to the specific parts of the image that you want your audience to be drawn to. So we'll just do RGBA for that, and of course we're going to edge blur this about 300. Oh, thank you so much for following me on Instagram. I really appreciate that. Yes, the final image will be placed on Instagram. That's where I always place it, and actually I'll probably be placing it there later today or tomorrow. I generally post it over the weekend because I do these streams generally on Friday nights, but I actually had really good user engagement on Sundays, so I might swap it to Sundays if that works better for a lot of the subscribers. I just, you know, I'm trying to find the time that works really well. I've been doing it on Friday nights because it's like I'm already here at work, so just streaming then makes sense. And I might do it a couple times during the week, like a little bit earlier in the morning before I go in. But yeah, so we're just going to add this vignette here and then maybe even adjust the vignette to kind of go up a little bit on the sides. Again, just trying to draw the viewer's attention to the center right here, because that's the important part. And then there's a couple things we can do. So before all of this kind of happens, let's just add a dot. Can we not add a dot? There we go. Okay. Before all of this happens, I kind of want to just drag everything down a little bit. It's a little messy. That's fine for right now. Let's add a grade node in here, and I'm going to plug this crypto matte node directly into that. And what this allows me to do is, because we're using crypto mattes on this image, we can actually select specific things that we want to change. So if I, for instance, will open up this crypto matte here. If I, for instance, using the picker, select our image, like so, you'll see that matte list ice was selected. That's because we have objects selected. We can actually change that to material if we really needed to. But it doesn't really matter because we kept everything really clean and really organized. So now if we do that, we actually have an alpha channel of just the ice that's there. And we can plug that into our mask of our grade node that we have here. So if we're trying to make some adjustments, for instance, I was talking about in the render that I didn't really like that green too much, I can actually change that color right here to whatever I need it to be. If I want it to be a little more blue or whatever color that is. And so you can see that adjustments being made right there. And you can fine tune pretty much everything using cryptomats, which is why I love cryptomats. I've got cryptomats for all of my objects and all my materials. So that way if it's like, for instance, if this was for a director, the director was like, hey, you know, I just really don't like the red shirt. It's like, dude, I can literally go in and using CryptoMatch change the color of that shirt to whatever color I need that to be. Blue pants, whatever it might be, the tree colors or anything. You can adjust all of that stuff just using CryptoMats. I believe there are limitations to CryptoMats on how many CryptoMats you can have in like a Z depth, like from the camera, like how many can stack on top of each other. And that's really only important if you're having like motion blur or if there's any like alpha transparency of different objects. Because then when you're selecting an object that's in front of, I think it's like 5 layers deep can CryptoMats do, or it might be 3. It's like 3 to 5. And if, let's say you had 10 snowflakes and all of them are somewhat transparent, well, it's like you're only going to see those 5 and then you're not going to see like the building behind it or whatever it is. So like understanding that like the Z depth of like a specific pixel, and it's on only 1 pixel. So, I mean, the amount of times you're going to run into that are pretty slim, but I didn't run into it with the, recently, this last year, I've been working on a short film, and that was, it's a horror short film that's about, it's a horror monster werewolf short film. And so I did all of the CG visual effects shots for it. Here, I'll show you guys a little sneak peek. That's the monster that I've been working on. And I've been working on that for this whole year. Shot it in January with a crew, and I've been doing visual effects. We did some color grading on it already. The sound is being done. It's actually being mixed over in Sony. It's really exciting. I'm going to drop the trailer soon, so make sure you just hit the subscribe button for that if you guys want to see the trailer for that when it comes. It's going to be exciting. I'm very thrilled about it. It's been a long process in the making. It's kind of nice being able to do visual effects on projects of your own, because that is such an expensive part of the journey for a lot of filmmakers. It's kind of your post-production visual effects. And just being able to, you know, do that yourself is a very valuable skill. And I'm very excited about, you know, what we came up with. I'm not sure about this contrast that I added here. I think it's a little too contrasty. Actually, I'm probably going to take less contrast and then kind of just boosting up everything as far as brightness goes, kind of just making it a little more white. Just kind of less contrasty overall. That'll give it more of like an icy feel. It just felt like it was a little too like water, like you were looking at water. And then now overall it's just the glow here. I just need her to have less glow on her, I think. It's really hard to tell until I have the full resolution render. Let's go ahead and hit the save button. And we'll go ahead and save that under 10 and then under scripts. We'll just 23 and then 12, 10, and then comp version 1. Okay, great. Well, I'm pretty happy with those compositing changes that we made there. I think overall I might recommend a grade change just to get it a little more blue. Just a little more blue. Actually, I guess a little more blue than that even. Just try to... really like that. You know, I almost, okay, here's the thing. I really like this, but what I want is the toe to be more blue. Because, why does that keep happening? Because it's like, I really like overall how everything is going. I just think that this needs to be slightly more blue. It's like I need a mask of specifically just the bottom part of the image. Can I do that? Yeah, I can. I'm going to use a Luma key, which I think is just called a key, right? Or how is that done? No. It's called keyer? I think it's just called keyer. And then let's go view that real quick. And we need to make a mask of specifically the darkest parts of the image. So this is all the brightest parts of the image, and then we just invert that basically. We'll just use a blur node, just kind of blur everything. And we're just basically blurring everything, and then we'll use it as an invert. But basically, we'll just go down to this now. And instead of using that on the highlights, we'll go into here and we'll say invert. Is that inverting it? What's going on here? No, that's not inverting. I select the wrong invert. Haha. This invert right here. And that'll invert only the, that'll make only the shadows blue, which gives that really magical kind of feel. I love that. Okay, so basically the idea is that we have our grain here, and then from our grain we're creating a Luma key, and the Luma key is only going to be selecting the bright parts of the image. So if we go look at that, we can then blur that Luma key that we're basically doing, and then out from our alpha we'll go to our grade node, and our grade node is going to be using the invert of that mask, so only the shadows are kind of being made blue. And then basically all the highlights are going to stay that beautiful orange. That way it feels very Christmassy in nature on how we were doing that. And now we just add in our bit of our vignette that we were doing here. Might even make that a little bit darker. And yeah, that looks really nice. And now let's go ahead and hit the save button there, and then we're basically just waiting for this render to complete. And basically we just need to wait for this to complete, which it looks like it's going to take about 15 minutes. It's already at 20 minutes, holy cow. I might just stop the render, and this will just get posted later today or tomorrow, probably later today. If I can get this render finished in the next hour or so, I'll just post it to the Instagram. So hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be posting the final version of this onto Instagram here in the next hour or so. It's crazy. We hit like 300 subscribers this last week, which is wild. I was at 270 last Friday, and you guys are awesome. We hit like 300, you know, and I think we were at like 310 or something like that before I started the stream. It already looks like we jumped up to 321. So thank you guys so much for hitting the subscribe button and following along. It's been super fun making these weekly. So, you know, new images, and right now we're in that Christmas season, so we're creating brand new Christmas images every week. And I might even be doing some multiple times of the week if it looks like this Sunday stream was really great time for a lot of you guys. I know Friday nights are a little more difficult for a lot of people to get to, especially if you're on like East Coast or even in crazy different time zones. Like there's this one guy that joined that was in Sweden. I'm pretty sure it's like the middle of the night in Sweden if I'm doing it on a Friday night. So I understand how that could be a little bit of an issue. But yeah, so this is currently rendering out right now. It looks like it's going to take an additional like 13 minutes to finish up rendering. And then all I have to do is basically pipe that into our comp that we have here. I just need to replace basically this to whatever the new image is that we're outputting. And then that will change up our image over here. And then I will be posting that to the Instagram account. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you guys are watching later or even right now, go ahead and comment any suggestions of something that you guys would like to see inside of one of these live streams. I am a 3D VFX artist as well as a compositor, so I do a variety of different things. And I'm looking forward to making some more videos and working with you guys here in the future. So thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out.